The township of Lebanon, Dodge County, Wisconsin, is located west of the northern unit of the Kettle Moraine State Forest. Lebanon's topography reflects the post-Ice Age mixture of parallel steep-sided ridges, conspicuous conical hills, and a massive glacial kettle. This giant kettle, or marsh, straddles the Rock River and is a dominant feature of this rural community. It has bedeviled farmers since the arrival of the first non-Indian settlers in the mid-1800s. We are about to begin an automobile tour through the most rustic and unspoiled area of the marsh. Over 50 years ago, most farmers along the route ended the battle to control the marsh. What was agricultural land for almost 100 years, heavily tiled and ditched, was allowed to return to swamp, sedge land, and backwash for the perpetually flooding Rock River. While a few farmers continued to battle the marsh for arable land, hundreds upon hundreds of acres have begun to resemble what the indigenous peoples saw for 10,000 years before the arrival of the land-grabbing European settlers. Two tiny roads meander through this devolving landscape, providing striking vistas as the land reverts to primeval wetlands and lowland forests. This lowland rustic road tour begins on Dodge County MM westbound. Turn left from Highway MM and head south on Monroe Road for 3.7 miles to Dodge County Highway EE near Old Ashippun. To make the route a loop tour, turn left onto County EE and travel northbound for 1.3 miles to La Follette Road. Turn left onto La Follette westbound and travel 1.3 miles until you return to Monroe Road, completing the loop. Turn right on Monroe Road and retrace your route back to County Highway MM. At the beginning of the tour, we are likely to see some fields under cultivation, where crops of corn and soybeans are thriving. That, of course, depends upon the amount of rain that has fallen and how the dams on the Rock River upstream at Eustisford and Horicon have been managed. These same fields may be partially or totally flooded, with giant areas of blighted or drowned crops. Soon we will encounter thriving agricultural activities on one side of the road and marshland in the process of devolution on the other side of the road. There will be intermittent stands of oak and linden that have never been cleared, old-growth forest more than 100 years old. Occasionally, we will encounter a driveway leading to a private camping site or a mid-century modern home nestled among the trees and underbrush, but that is uncommon. Mostly we see sedge grasses, willow trees, mixed hardwoods, a few conifers, and increasingly dense underbrush where the land is returning to its post-glacial form. The marsh is never far from the roadbed, since the roadbed is only elevated a matter of inches above the surrounding marsh. The occasional mailbox is a reminder that there are permanent residents who have chosen to call this elemental environment their home. It is idyllic, yet fraught with challenges like frequent flooding. It is possible that the home may become accessible only by boat when the roads are closed. The old-growth trees form recurrent canopies along the route. There are two 19th century farmsteads that are particularly picturesque and oblige us to stop and take in the solitude and the splendor. Every bend in the road reveals new vistas. We eventually encounter 3 sets of gates that will be closed when the road floods. There are several deep spots in the kettle that remain water-filled year-round. Forest and swamp cooperate, and wildlife thrives. Late afternoon brings out the deer, geese, ducks, and the occasional bald eagle. It's easy to imagine men of the Potawatomi Nation in canoes harvesting wild rice here. While we have chosen to name this tour Lebanon's Rustic Roads, the two roads, Monroe and La Follette, are not officially rustic roads as designated by the Wisconsin Division of Motor Vehicles. To qualify as an official rustic road in Wisconsin, a road must have outstanding natural features or areas that set the road apart from other roads. It must be lightly traveled, and the road must not be scheduled for major improvements, which would change its rustic characteristics. And preferably, it should be at least 2 miles with a loop, completed closure, or connection to a major highway at both ends of the route. The maximum speed limit established by law is 45 miles per hour, but can be set lower by local government if desired. Rustic roads may be dirt, gravel, or paved. The designation process is initiated by application from the local government. Well, even though the roads we are traveling are not officially designated rustic roads, they seem to meet all the criteria. Here's another set of flood closure gates. You may have noticed there haven't been any driveways between this set and the previous set of gates that we saw. That means the section that we just finished is considered totally uninhabitable and may be inaccessible for weeks at a time throughout the year. So we are back on the habitable portion of the route. Nonetheless, the gradual return to ancient forest and marsh is obvious all around us. There is one more picturesque 19th century farmstead coming up ahead on the right. Be sure to keep an eye out for that in a few minutes. A word to anyone who is contemplating flying a drone here. I've surrendered one drone to a tree and another to a red-tailed hawk who dropped the drone into the Rock River. If you continue on this route to County Highway EE, turn left and go north to La Follette Road, you will be rewarded with phenomenal vistas and surprised by a thriving farm in the midst of the swamp. Enjoy the ride, and please enjoy the brief drone video that concludes this tour of Lebanon's rustic roads. Thank you for joining us.